I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me, saith the Holy One. Hear it, not as doctrine, but as announcement. Hear it as the voice that fashioned you from the womb, everlasting in its tenderness. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. If that be truth, and it is truth, then know at this very moment that all you have feared has no law and no power. Evil is an appearance. It shouts, it threatens, it parades on the stage of thought, but it does not act, for action is power, and power is presence, and the presence is one. I want you to notice the difference between noise and might. The wind can howl outside a granite cliff, but it does not move the cliff. The shout of the appearance is the howl. The silent is the cliff. Be still and know that I am God. This stillness is not weakness, it is dominion. The still one governs because the still one is God, the only power of the universe. Only power. Now, for just a breath, will you join me? Say softly, I. Again, I. Feel that I which precedes your thought, which breathes before you take a breath. That I is not fear, not gust, not rumor. That I is the present saying in your midst, I in the midst of thee am mighty. Before Abraham was, I am. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. This is not poetry alone. It is the practical fact by which life is sustained and governed. You may ask, well, what of the headlines, the alarms, the shadows that flit across the senses? Hear me gently. We do not deny the appearance, we deny it law. We do not fight its noise, we refuse it authority. The Spirit speaks in the hush, and the hush dissolves the tempest without argument. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. Is that not enough? Yes, it is enough because it is all. Let the mind rest in a single recognition. God, God, God. Not two powers, not a contest in the heavens, not a tug of war between light and darkness. The presence is indivisible. Where the one is, no rival stands. Where the I is, false suggestion has no instrument, no agency, no breath with which to shout. And so, beloved, today we begin not by arming the senses, but by laying down the arms of fear. We take our stand in the silence that already governs. We abide, and as we abide, the boast of evil fades like a sound that never had a source. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth, and the hearing is peace. Beloved, here is where many of us have been confused. The senses have a megaphone. They amplify the rumor, they magnify the shadow, they report the storm. The senses were made to register motion. They were never appointed judges of truth. Spirit, on the other hand, does not argue, does not shout, does not wave its arms. Spirit speaks in stillness. Hear the word, be still and know that I am God. Not be busy and explain me, not be frantic and secure me, but be still and know. The knowing is in the stillness, and the stillness is the sanctuary where the I in the midst proclaims its might. So where shall we set our attention? Upon the newspaper of the nerves, or upon the temple not made with hands? If we abide in the reports of sight and hearing, we are moved by the gusts. If we return to the center, we discover that nothing essential has been moved at all. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength, saith the prophet. This is not passivity, it is right placement. We withdraw our gaze from the shouting corridor of appearances, and we sit down within, upon the mercy seat of our own heart, and we let the presence announce itself, I am here. I in the midst of thee am mighty. Now, you may say, well, how do I make that move when the shout is loud? Gently, without heroics. We do not wrestle, we relocate. We do not fix the picture. We step behind the lens. One simple way, one breath on the word God. Then listen. Would you try that with me? On the next soft inhalation, let the word God rise, not said to a distant sky, but recognized as this very life, God. And then, as you release the breath, do not fill the air with petitions. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Listen, do nothing. Take no thought for your life. Perhaps you will feel only a hush, perhaps nothing at all. Yet in that nothing, the something stands revealed to itself. This is the map. From reacting to abiding, from noise to presence, from outer to inner, from effect to cause. Each time the appearance shouts, we answer with silence. Each time fear parades, we sit down within and let God be God. Remember Elijah, the wind, the earthquake, the fire, and after the fire, a still small voice. That is our compass. God, the only power of the universe, only power. And as we practice this one breath many times a day, without strain, without looking for signs, the awareness of the I grows familiar, the hush becomes home, and the shout, though it may continue for a season, loses our ear. Be still and know that I am God. Here is foundation. Here is safety. Here is the beginning of wisdom, attention anchored in the silent that governs. Now let us look squarely at the trick itself. You are walking at twilight, and there upon the path a coil lies, motionless, sinister. The heart leaps, the breath shortens, the arm is already reaching for a stick. Then one small kindness, a porch light, a match, the faintest beam, and at once the snake is a rope. Notice this with me. What changed? Not the rope. The rope was rope before, rope during, rope after. What changed was seeing, and fear had lent the picture, its seeming life, its urgency, its command to act. The snake never had a will, never had a law, never had a power to strike. It borrowed your fear for its performance. And if I say, don't picture a pink elephant, what happens? At once, there it stands, rosy and ridiculous, parading through a room that contains no such creature. Your mind has drawn it, colored it, given it motion, and yet there is no elephant to feed, no elephant to train, no elephant to fight. Suggestion paints, belief supplies breath. Fear beats the drum so the parade may seem real. This is the stock in trade of evil. It has no breath of its own, it borrows yours. In our way of speaking, we call these things appearances, claims, suggestions, temptations. They are mental pictures, not God action. An appearance is not a decree from the throne. It is a flicker upon the lens. A claim is not a law. It is a whisper seeking your consent. A suggestion is not substance. It is a passing cloud testing whether you will name it sky. A temptation is not compulsion. It is an invitation to worship a pink elephant. Hear the prophet, thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil. God is too pure to behold iniquity. Therefore evil is not in God. If it is not in God, it has no law to sustain it. Now, I do not say this to deny anyone's tears or to mock the body's groan. We never deny human pain. We deny its divinity and power. We call it what it is, a shadow upon the wall when the lamp is behind us. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Shadow, not substance. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. I in the midst of thee am mighty. Perfect love casteth out fear, and when fear is withdrawn, the actor loses its stage. Well then, shall we argue the rope into ropeness? No. Turn on the light. Shall we plead with the pink elephant to depart? No. Stop feeding it thought. One recognition suffices. God, the only power of the universe. Only power. God, God, God. Then listen, speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. As light, realization, Presence floods consciousness. The claim finds no law on which to stand. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. Formed? Yes, as a picture. Prosper? No, for the Spirit of the Lord is liberty. Here is the pivot. Withdraw belief. Behold the eye, and the borrowed power returns to its owner none. If it is not in God, it has no mandate, no cause, no continuance. Before Abraham was, I am. That I is your sanctuary, and in its light the snake is rope, the elephant is air, and the shout is only echo without a voice. Be still and know, I in the midst of thee am mighty. Hear that not as poetry, but as God's own self-identification in you, not beside you, not above you, not in a building or a book alone in the midst of you. Before Abraham was, I am. The I that antedates history, that outlives clocks, that formed you from the womb and called you by name, is the very life you are. This is the sanctuary. This is the granite behind the howl. The eternal God is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. Refuge is not a wall outside. It is the I within that has never moved. Now, could you for a moment say the word I softly? I. Again, I. Not the personal I that boasts, counts, and compares. Not the little I of yesterday's wins and losses. Say it as identity, as God's name in you. I am. I am that I am, said the voice to Moses, and Jesus gave it back to us, present tense and intimate. Before Abraham was, I am. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. This I is not a traveler through your life, it is life itself. When you touch it, it touches you. When you rest in it, it rests you. Say it once more and let the emphasis fall away, as if the word were breathing you, I. Safety, then, is not found in stronger locks, larger balances, thicker files of assurances. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. The tower is within. To run into it is to turn attention homeward and stand in identity. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Dwelling in the secret place does not change the street, it changes the seer. And when the seer is changed, fear cannot find its audience. Perfect love casteth out fear, because love recognized as I is the only resident. There is no tenement left to rent to panic. I remember a night, let it be our parable, when a mother sat in a dim corridor outside an emergency ward. Machines hummed, thoughts galloped. She had worn out the alphabet of worry. Then one small obedience. She closed her eyes, let the names and numbers drop, and whispered no petition at all, only I. Not a plea, a recognition. The corridor did not brighten, the machines did not pause, but something quiet stood up in her midst. Strength without strain, a sense not of bravado, not of denial of presence. In that instant, fear found no hand to hold. Like nose, like spirit, beholding spirit, eye acknowledging eye, and the shadow, lacking likeness, thinned into air. So this is our sanctuary and our authority, identity. We do not talk God into governing. We discover that the governor is the I we are. Take no thought for your life. Take thought for God as your life. Let the heart say, God, God, God. Then listen. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Where identity is known, fear cannot stand, for there is no other to oppose the one. Abide here, live here. I in the midst of thee am mighty. Beloved, when identity is known, causality yields, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Take that into the marrow. We do not live by the lever and pulley of cause and effect, grinding out results with anxious wheels. We live by grace. A state of grace banishes, annihilates, wipes out physical and mental law as masters. It does not discard instruments. It dethrones them. Instruments may serve for a season, but they do not govern the seasons. Grace is governance. Law is a tool. When the I in the midst is recognized, the tool falls into its proper place, and the seeming iron chain of inevitability melts in the presence that has no chain. Consider sunlight and shadow. The sun does not wrestle. It does not negotiate with darkness. It does not analyze the angles. It appears and shadow flees. So with grace, the so-called laws that prop up appearances, statistics, heredities, the old equations of lack and fear stand only while the sun is behind a cloud in consciousness. Let the light be felt, and they are not fought, they are not denounced, they simply have nowhere to stand. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom indeed, when the very premise of fear, the masterful rule of mechanism, has been dissolved in presence, God, the only power of the universe, only power. Well, then, must I figure out how grace will do it? No. Rest the will. He performeth that which is given me to do. Not I, not the personal planner, not the anxious calculator. He performeth, the Father within. He doeth the works. Your part is recognition and availability. Be still and know. Stand in the I. Let the mind say gently, God, God, God. And then listen, speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. In that listening attitude, currents arrange, doors open of their own accord. What was heavy becomes featherlight, not by your push, but by the buoyancy of grace nullifying the supposed gravity of circumstance. You see, the inevitabilities that frighten us are contracts we signed in ignorance. If this, then that. If they, then I. If market, then house. If clock, then health. Grace tears up those papers without drama. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. Hear it personally. The I within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight, cause yields to presence, effect bows to being, and you, instead of straining, discover yourself carried. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Easy because the burden is no longer the law you once feared. It is the light that outshines it. So today we shift from driving to being drawn. We cease taking thought for outcomes and take thought only for God as our life. We let the sun be the sun. We let grace be government. And as we abide, we find that what claimed inevitability, deadline, diagnosis, deficit stands revealed as shadow without mandate. Be still. Let him perform that which is given you to do. Sunlight does not argue, it shines. Let the eye in the midst shine, and watch the chains that never were fall noiselessly to the floor. God, God, God. Then listen. Now we come to the holy practicality of it, how healing is done without doing. Hear the word that has already gone before you. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Not in the mechanics of mental pushing, not in the fever of fixing, but in quietness, in confidence. The Father within, he doeth the works. Our part is not to argue with shadows. Our part is to behold the light. To the degree that we are still enough to know, grace appears as government, and the appearance yields its claim without struggle. So we adopt a new method, and it is the oldest truth. Drop the patient and the condition. Behold God only. If you carry a person and a problem into the sanctuary, you have brought idols into the temple. Leave them outside. Why? Because what you fight, you feed. What you behold in God, you free. To engage in appearance is to lend it your fear, your attention, your breath. To behold God is to withdraw its borrowed life so that it returns to nothingness. Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil. If God is too pure to behold iniquity, then we, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image, not by effort, but by sight. Now, the protocol, simple enough for a child and deep enough for a seer. Sit down within, shut the door of opinion, take no thought for your life, let the mind speak softly, not to persuade, but to recognize God, God, God. Then be still. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Wait without agenda. Do not pick up the name, the number, the diagnosis, the deadline. Let the I in the midst announce itself without words. If a thought of the condition intrudes, bless it by not feeding it. Do not push it out. Simply return to God. And mark this well. Never look for results. Results belong to grace. To peek is to place the sun back behind a cloud. Leave it. Be a beholder only. I remember a call. Let it be instruction in story form. Come quickly, they said. The fever is rising. The human impulse would be to rise with it, to match fear with bustle. But we have learned another rhythm. I set the receiver down, not unfeelingly, but faithfully, and shut the door. No patient, no temperature. God, God, God. Silence. A weight seemed to slip from the air as if a hand unfastened it. No message, no vision, only the hush. He performeth that which is given me to do. When the phone rang again, the words were simple. It broke. Yes, of course it did not, because we fixed a condition, but because the I, that is life, stood revealed where fear had tried to be law. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. This is our way henceforth. Withdraw belief, behold the presence, and abide. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Be the window, not the engineer, the witness, not the warden. The eye within goes before you to make the crooked places straight. Let it. Healing begins the instant we cease fixing appearances and stand as beholders of God. And then grace, needing no witness but itself, performs the rest. God, the only power, and the still one governs. Now let us do it not as theory but as life. Sit down within. We will not tug at shadows. We will not carry names and numbers into the sanctuary. Leave them outside as you would leave your shoes at the door. Take no thought for your life. We are entering to behold, not to bargain. One simple, holy procedure. First, recognition. Then, listening. We speak a few quiet statements, not to inform God, but to awaken our own remembrance. Then we are still. We do not bring the problem in. We bring only the presence, and the presence announces itself. Begin softly. Let the mind say what is eternally so. God, God, God. Not somewhere else. Not tomorrow here. Now. God, the only power. Only power. God, the life of me. God, the wisdom of my going out and my coming in. I, in the midst of thee, am mighty. Before Abraham was, I am. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Say these not as many words, but as one recognition, repeated until the heart feels its own temperature rise into peace. God, God, God. Then stop. No more sentences. Be still and know that I am God. Now we listen. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Nothing to get, nothing to force. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Let the attention settle as a feather drops to a windowsill. Do not scan the body. Do not check the clock. Wait. You may notice a small click, as if a latch were lifted. You may feel a weight fall from the chest or the brow. You may notice nothing at all, and yet the silence, which is presence, is doing what only it can do. We are not producing, we are consenting. We are not arguing, we are adoring. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Stay just a little longer than the mind prefers. If any thought of the appearance knocks, do not open the door. Bless it by inattention and return to the altar wordlessly, God, and listen. Here is the mystery and the simplicity. Silence reveals the presence that dissolves appearance without argument, as frost melts before dawn, as a shadow thins when the lamp is turned, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. He performeth that which is given me to do. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, not because we parried it, but because in the light it found no law to stand upon. When you feel the hush establish itself, whether as warmth, as ease, or simply as quiet willingness, rise gently and carry it with you. Do not check results. Do not pick up the bundle you left at the door. If in the day the shout resumes, answer it with one breath on the word God, and listen again and again, without strain, without zealotry, with love. This is prayer. This is practice. This is how the still one governs, by presence known. God, God, God. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth, and the hearing is peace. Beloved, when we rise from the hush and meet a brother in pain, we bring two hands, one to serve and one to behold. On the human level, we do not pass by on the other side. We stop, we lift, we bandage, we feed. We put on the kettle, we open the window, we find a blanket, we sit through the night if need be. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me. That is not metaphor, that is instruction. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction. So we visit. We weep with them that weep. We give the cup of cold water not as symbol, but as love. Yet while our hands move, our heart remains in sanctuary. We neither crown the pain as monarch, nor preach at it in pious phrases. We do not say to the trembling one, there is no suffering, as if denial were balm. We say, if we speak at all, I am with thee. And inwardly we hold the template that heaven itself has given. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. We love tenderly on the human level while withholding belief in evil's power. That is compassion without collusion. We touch the wound, yes, but we do not consult the wound for law. We let presence do the works. Well then, shall we argue with the appearance while the child is crying? No. We comfort the child. We wipe the face. We may phone a neighbor, call help, make the broth. At the same moment, this is the holy art we abide within in the wordless prayer we have learned, God, God, God. Then listen. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. We are not throwing texts at pain. We are opening out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. The Father within, he doeth the works. And the one before us feels something perhaps not a miracle to headline, perhaps only a softening of fear, a breath that lengthens, a steadiness like a hand placed in the small of the back. That is grace beginning to govern. I remember an evening, think of it as a parable for your own doorway, when a young man, gray with worry, stood on my step. There were bills and accusations, and his hands would not stop shaking. We did not launch into metaphysics. We made tea. We sat. We spoke of nothing urgent. Inwardly, a single remembrance. I, in the midst of thee, am mighty. God, 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 silence. After a time, the shaking stopped of itself, and the next step to take stood up inside him clear as daylight. No lecture had done it. Love had. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. So carry this rule into every room. Let the hand be Samaritan. Let the heart be sanctuary. Bind wounds, and do not bind yourself to the wound by fear. Offer help, and do not offer your faith to the appearance. Keep the inner ear turned. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. When you cannot find words, breathe one, God. When you cannot find strength, remember one, I in the midst. Compassion gives bread. Realization withdraws belief. Together they are mercy and dominion, tender as a mother, sovereign as the sun. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. And neither shall you leave the presence, even as you move among need, for presence moves in you and governs without rival. Beloved, let us take one more decisive step. Having learned to let the hand be Samaritan and the heart be sanctuary, we now withdraw our faith and reliance from the outer scaffolding persons, possessions, procedures as sources. I do not say despise them. I say dethrone them. Instruments may serve, but presence alone is source. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. Remembering is reliance. Now, could you whisper it with me as identity, not petition? The I within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight. Again, quietly. The I within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight. Yes, that is government. Consider money matters. The mail arrives, and with it numbers that pretend to prophesy your tomorrow. Shall we let ledgers become our Lord? No. We open the envelope, and then we open the heart. God, God, God. Then listen. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding, and he shall direct thy paths. Direction is the true wealth. Perhaps grace moves you to make a call, to release an expense, to accept an unexpected opportunity. Perhaps grace bids you be still for a day. Either way, the mover is I. He performeth that which is given me to do. Freed from worship of balances, you are no longer whipped by the ups and downs of figures. You find yourself carried by provision that flows like a river hidden beneath the street. Consider health scares. A word, a twinge, a test. Suddenly the body sits on a throne demanding sacrifice. We will not serve two masters. We do not scorn means when love would use them. We simply will not crown them as law. First, we enter the sanctuary. God, 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 be still. I am the Lord that healeth thee. The Father within, he doeth the works. And if a remedy or a regimen appears under grace, receive it as the servant it is, not as deity. Then you walk unafraid, not because you have secured a method, but because you have remembered the I that is life. Perfect love casteth out fear. Fear was the fever. Consider conflicts. A sharp word, a clenched jaw, a door half slammed. The old reflex is to gather allies, rehearse speeches, brandish proofs. Instead, we let presence go before us. Say it softly as you approach the meeting. The I within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight. A soft answer turneth away wrath, not softness of weakness, but softness of spirit. Then speak, if you must, out of the hush you carry. Often you will find the edge has already fallen from the moment. Or if not, you are not hooked by it. And wisdom chooses when to speak and when to be silent. The Prince of Peace attends his own words. What is the fruit of this inward leaning? Freedom from the swings of fortune. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, not a leaf blown about by headlines and forecasts. Begin to live this way today. Before you consult a balance, a mirror, or a calendar, consult the I, God, God, God. Then listen. Take no thought for your life. Take thought for God as your life. The eye within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight, and as you abide here, you will notice it is not bravery you feel, but ease, steadiness, and grace, the quiet dominion of the one who never leaves you nor forsakes you, nearer than hands and feet, doing the works. It helps the heart to hear a witness, not to excite it, but to quiet it into trust. I remember a night on the coastal highway when haste was bidding me press on. The moon rode low, the curve ahead was familiar, the hour late, and then the inner check rose without sound. Wait. Not a shout, not fear, only the still, small voice that we have come to know when we have first said, God, God, God. Then listen. My foot lifted of itself, the wheel steadied, and around that bend a fallen limb lay splayed across both lanes, black as the road until you were upon it. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Do you see? No calculation, no scanning of the shoulder, the presence, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet, governed. I sat a while right there with the engine quieted. He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. It was not bravery that held me, it was ease. The shout of hurry fell away, and the silence that saves without argument performed its own. And I remember an earlier day in practice when a condition had raised its hand to be counted nothing grand, a tooth that had loosened and a throb that seemed to drum its case. The beginner in me wished to rub, to plan, to promise a regimen, but we had learned the rule, drop the patient and the condition. Behold God only. I sat down within, no anatomy, no calendar, no pleading, God, God, God. Then listen, be still and know that I am God. There was no vision, no heat, only a kind of untying in the air, like a knot consenting to be undone. I went to bed without checking. In the morning, as I buttered toast, it came as an afterthought. The ache was gone. The tooth was firm. If you ask me how, I can only answer the Father within. He doeth the works. He performeth that which is given me to do, not I, never I. Grace had nullified the so-called law that had been borrowing my attention for its drumbeat. What are these but parables of the one governance? Realizations, not manipulations, produce the quiet dissolving of appearances. When beholding replaces fear, grace finds open door. The sun does not wrestle frost off the field. It rises, and melting happens of its own accord. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. So it is in danger on a road, so it is in the tissues of a body, so it is in the secret corridors of a heart. Our task is not to strain, but to stand. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And let us be very clear where the honor belongs. We are not wonder workers, we are witnesses. If any hush enters a room and any chain falls soundlessly to the floor, the credit is not to a person's faith or technique, but to the unopposed presence that is the very eye of us. I, in the midst of thee, am mighty. The noise falls away when the ear turns Godward. The way is kept when the foot waits for the inward word. Begin here, then, in every hour, God, God, God. Then listen. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. And you will find again and again, without strain and without show, that grace has gone before you and done its quiet, perfect work. Beloved, this is not a small corner doctrine, not a private theory we hatched in a quiet room. Across the ages, one song has been heard under different stars in desert and village and grove. Here at first at the bush that burned and was not consumed, I am that I am. Moses stood barefoot where fear had long reigned, and the voice did not arm him with counter magic. It armed him with identity. I will be what I will be. I in the midst of you am mighty. When he returned to the court of Pharaoh, the dominance was not in rod or sign, but in the unseen assurance, certainly I will be with thee. Presence, not prowess. Government by eye, not by argument. Be still and know that I am God. Then the song rises on Galilean hill. Jesus does not introduce a second power. He discloses the same I as intimacy. Before Abraham was, I am. I and my Father are one. See how he meets the parade of suggestions with silence, with authority, without strain. In the wilderness, when appetite and ambition and spectacle bid for his faith, he does not consult them for law. He abides in the word. When the wind shouts on the lake, he does not wrestle a storm. He reveals dominion. Peace, be still. When accusers gather stones, he kneels to write in dust and lets the heat of hatred fall of itself. Evil shouts but does not act. God, the only power, only power. And under the Bodhi tree, another witness sits through the night. Mara assembles his pageant, fear, desire, doubt, and the great drum of, you are subject to me. The Blessed One does not lift a sword. He touches the earth as if to say, here, in the ground of being, there is no second might. Appearances exhaust themselves when belief is withdrawn. One by one, the specters, starved of borrowed fear, pass like cloud from the face of the moon. Awake, he sees what all awakened sight beholds. That which had seemed a power was only appearance, and the clear light, closer than breathing, was the only real. Listen again to the poet who knew this inner chemistry and gave us our method in a single radiant line. Open out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. That is our practice, is it not? God, God, God. Then listen, not fixing, but opening, not conjuring, but consenting. In quietness and in confidence, the splendor reveals itself as the very I we are, and shadows, having no root in law, dissolve without debate. So you see, many witnesses, one song, Moses names it I am, Jesus embodies it as I here and now, the Buddha sits still until unreality falls away, Browning whispers how to unshutter the heart, and the scriptures gather it into one trumpet note. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. I am the first, and I am the last, and beside me there is no God. Therefore, let the mind rest in the one. Let the heart withhold belief from any shout that claims a second power. Behold the presence nearer than hands and feet, and watch how grace unopposed governs. Beloved, let us bring this song down into the street where the feet of your day walk. It is not only in temples and night watches that appearances raise their flags. They come in headlines, in waiting rooms, in the quiet arithmetic of a kitchen table. And in each scene we are offered a choice. Will we serve a shouting claim, or will we behold the one? Only the presence is power. Evil shouts but does not act. So we practice a simple rule again and again until it becomes our second nature. Stop. Center. Behold. Act from peace. Repeat as needed. Take the news cycle. You open the paper. You scroll a screen, and a drumbeat begins. Fear, outrage, prediction. Well, what now? Do not let a headline draft your soul into its army. Close the page for a breath. God, God, God. Then listen. Be still and know that I am God. Let the inner temperature drop to peace before any opinion is formed, before any word is posted. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Now, from the hush, ask, is there a neighbor to help, a call to make, a prayer to offer, a vote to cast? then do that, no more, no less. Presence, not panic, directs your path. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. Therefore you are not required to carry the world on your shoulders. You are required to carry the presence in your heart. Consider a diagnosis. A word is spoken, numbers appear, a schedule of visits unfolds, instruments may serve, but we enthrone no second power. First, sanctuary, God, God, God. Then, listen, I am the Lord that healeth thee. Perfect love casteth out fear. Fear was lending the appearance its thunder. Now under grace, receive what love would use, a remedy, a rest, a change of habit, a counselor's wisdom. Receive as servant, not as God. The Father within, he doeth the works. You will notice that when fear is unseated, decisions grow simple and kind, and the body, no longer ruled from a throne of dread, consents more readily to order. We take wise care compassionately, while refusing to crown disease's law. He performeth that which is given me to do. And balances, yes, the arithmetic that tries to prophesy your fate. The bill arrives, the line tightens, and the whisper says, now you are defined by these figures. No, we will remember the name of the Lord our God. Lay out the papers, then lay the heart open. God, God, God. Then listen. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory. From that remembrance, do the next plain thing. Call the creditor, prune an expense, accept a useful opportunity, give where love nudges, for generosity breaks the spell of fear. Move not by scramble, but by eye. The eye within me goes before me to make the crooked places straight. Numbers predict weather, presence is climate. Here is the micro protocol you can carry in your pocket. Stop, break the spell. Center God, God, God. Behold, speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Act from peace only, the step that rises in the hush. Repeat as needed again and again, as gently as breathing. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. In every scene, choose beholding over panic, presence over headlines, the indwelling eye over every appearance, and you will find that grace, not noise, governs your day. Beloved, the soul ripens not by spasms but by rhythm. Let us set a humble, holy rule that turns ordinary days into altars. Morning and evening, give 5 to 10 minutes to the one who is already giving you breath. Do not bring your problems in. Leave names and numbers at the door as shoes left on the mat. Enter with one remembrance. God, God, God. Then listen. Be still and know that I am God. Sit in that knowing, not to make anything happen, but to let the already happened presence be felt. Take no thought for your life. Simply abide. And never look for results. Results belong to grace. We are not carpenters here. We are windows. In the morning, before the world drafts you into its march, sit quietly and let identity speak itself within you. I in the midst of me is mighty. Say it softly as fact, not plea. God, the only power, only power. Then stop. Speak, Lord. Thy servant heareth. Let the silence do its work. Rise without peeking at the appearance you left outside. In the evening, return to the same sanctuary and empty the day of its clamor. No reviews, no verdicts. God, God, God. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Be still and rest the mind in that companionship until it is enough. At midday, practice a 2-minute pause as a bell of remembrance. Wherever you are, at the sink, at the curb, between doors, close the inner door and whisper, God, God, God. Then listen, just 2 minutes. This is not an escape, it is governance. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. The day reorders itself when the heart re-enthrones the one. Once a week, keep an extended quiet longer than the clock thinks polite. Let it be a walk where words fade, or a chair by a window where breath slows, or a Sabbath hour in which the soul remembers it was never the doer. The Sabbath was made for man. Read a line of Scripture. He leadeth me beside the still waters, then fall into the still waters and be carried. Bring no petitions. Never look for results. Let grace nullify law in its own unspectacular way. If you like, keep a small journal, not trophies, only tokens. 1 or 2 lines, lightly noted. When you notice the hush go before you, when fear falls off like a loose thread, when the next step stands up on its own, not to rehearse wonders, but to recognize governance, hitherto hath the Lord helped us. These are Ebenezer stones for lean days, reminders that the eye within goes before you to make the crooked places straight. This is the plan, simple, steady, non-striving. Morning and evening you consent. At midday you remember. Once a week you deepen. Boundaries clear, no problems in, no results sought. Mantras few and living. Be still and know, I in the midst of me is mighty. And as this rhythm settles, you will find that appearances cannot rule where grace is habit. Presence governs quietly, without rival. Beloved, let us end where the heart rests, in the one. I am the first and I am the last, and beside me there is no God. Therefore there is no power in evil, none. Evil shouts, but it does not act. It borrows breath from our fear, and we are withdrawing alone. God, the only power. Only power. Let that sentence stand over your house as a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. Be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. The presence that is your very life abides and governs without rival. Hear now the promise and take it personally, as name, as breath. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. This is not poetry to frame, it is companionship to trust. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet, I in the midst of thee am mighty. Let this assurance loosen the fist of your heart until the hand opens and the day is safe inside it. Receive a simple charge. Begin tonight. 2 quiet minutes will do, and they will open a world. Sit down within. Leave the bundle at the door. Say it softly, as fact, not plea. I in the midst of me is mighty, God, God, God. Then listen, speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Behold, not the appearance, but the one. When the hush gathers, rise gently and live, the next hour lightly hand Samaritan heart sanctuary. If a shout comes, answer it with one breath on God and listen again. Do this tonight. Do this in the morning. Do this once at noon. No strain, no show, only love. And take this confidence with you like a lamp that needs no oil from man. As you consent to the silence, it will take you over. Yes, inspiration, which is God moving, will live your life as you rest in it. You will discover that the word you needed was waiting at the edge of your tongue. The road you dreaded has already been made straight. The answer arrives before the question has finished its clamor. He performeth that which is given me to do. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. So go quietly, gladly, without armor, but with presence. Keep one remembrance near and ready, God the only power, only power. Keep one prayer upon the inner lip, God, God, God. Then listen. Keep one identity before every face, I in the midst. Walk the streets and sit at the tables of your life under this governance. When thou passest through the waters, I am with thee. And may the silent that governs, already resident as your very eye, shine through your seeing, speak through your stillness, and order your days in peace. Be still and know. Go in dominion.